When we think about threats to our health, we usually picture things like diseases or, car accidents, but what if one of the biggest dangers is actually hiding inside the very system that's supposed to make us better? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really critical issue, preventable medical errors, right here in the American healthcare system.
Let's just start with a number, a huge one. Over 200,000. According to researchers, that's how many patients die each and every year in the U.S. from preventable medical harm. And no, that's not a typo. It's a truly staggering figure that points to a massive crisis that's somehow happening just under the radar.
So how are we going to unpack all of this? Well, first, we'll dig into the true scale of this hidden crisis. Then, we're going to define what a medical error actually is. We'll also explore why these mistakes seem to go unreported so often. After that, we'll cover some really important, actionable steps for you and your family. And finally, we'll talk about why seeking justice is so crucial for driving real systemic change.
Okay, so first things first, let's really get a handle on the scale of this crisis. The main thing to get is that this isn't about a few bad apples or a couple of isolated mistakes. What we're really talking about is a deep, systemic issue. That number we just saw, over 200,000 deaths, that's not just a statistic, right? Behind each one of those is a person, a family, a community that's been devastated year after year. The source material makes it crystal clear. This is a widespread problem with an enormous human cost, and it points to failures within the system itself, not just one person's actions.
So what do we actually mean when we say preventable medical error? It's a pretty broad term, so let's break down the official definition to get a much clearer picture of what we're dealing with.
Okay, let's really look at this. An act of omission means someone failed to do something they should have done. An act of commission means they did something, but they did it wrong. But here's the most important part, right at the end. These errors often come from a system failure, things like bad processes, terrible communication, or just not having the right safety checks in place.
And this is a perfect illustration of what those system failures look like in the real world. A diagnostic error, that could be a radiologist missing a tumor on a scan. A treatment error, maybe giving a patient the wrong dose of a really powerful drug. A preventive failure could be something like not having the right protocols to stop infections in a hospital. And communication breakdowns, well, those can happen anywhere and cause a total cascade of problems.
So this all leads to a huge question. If this problem is causing hundreds of thousands of deaths, why isn't it on the front page of every newspaper? Well, the answer seems to be a kind of culture of silence, and we're about to find out why.
Yeah, exactly. This is a central question, isn't it? And the answer isn't some big conspiracy or cover-up. It's actually a whole series of systemic blind spots that make these errors almost impossible to track.
Think about it. A death certificate might say the cause of death was heart failure, but it's probably not going to say it was because of a medication error that caused the heart to fail. The billing codes just aren't set up to capture that information. Then you add in the fear of lawsuits, plus hospitals that might discourage reporting, and you've got the perfect storm for keeping this whole thing under wraps. The data just isn't being collected in a way that shows us what's really going on.
Okay, so understanding the problem is one thing. But what can you actually do if you suspect that you or someone you love has been a victim of a medical error? We're going to shift gears now from just explaining the problem to giving you some concrete, empowering steps you can take. Think of this as your roadmap if you find yourself in this situation. First, get the medical records. That's the official story of what happened. Second, get a second opinion from an independent expert who can review those records and see if the proper standard of care was met. Third, document everything. Keep your own notes on every conversation, every symptom. It provides crucial context. And finally, talk to an attorney who specializes in this, because they can help you figure out your options and guide you through a very complex process. And here's the thing. Taking these steps isn't just about one individual case. It's about accountability. And at the end of the day, accountability is what drives change in any big, complicated system. This quote really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's about a fundamental right. When that trust we place in our healthcare system gets broken, transparency isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity. Accountability makes sure that failures are actually acknowledged, and recourse gives a path to justice for people who've been hurt. So, ultimately, this is the thought I want to leave you with. Pursuing accountability isn't just about looking backwards at what went wrong. It's about building a better, safer future. It's what forces hospitals and clinics to look at their systems, to fix broken processes, and to make sure the same tragedy doesn't happen to another family.
And that is how one person's action can start a ripple effect, creating a safer healthcare system for every single one of us.